Mahyar Tousi, welcome back on the show.
Well, I don't know how I ended up here again. I got lost, but I'm back.
If it were up to me, every episode would be a Mahyar Tousi episode. Tell me, though, you've had an episode of sorts itself, which is actually very serious. The police have leaked a report about you. What's gone on?
Yeah, so this goes back probably about a month, 2 months ago. It's been longer now. There was yet another Saturday pro-Palestinian protest. Obviously, I went there to report, and there were counter-protesters with Israeli flags, Union flags. Things heated up in a sense that the moment I got there, we started hearing the police talking to each other, communication devices saying, Tousi is here, as if the eagle has landed or whatever. But they tried to they threatened to arrest me because of a joke I made online about Hezbollah pages. And I had a conversation, I was like, okay, fine. No more jokes, whatever. And they said, well, we might have to talk to you on Monday, 2 days from now, come to the police station. And then they said, we're going to send information. They didn't. And Monday came, I was like, okay, everything's gone. Then a day later, the police called me in the morning. I was like, okay, this is it. They said, actually, it's not about that. We've done a whoopsie. There was a report about you on that day at the protest. It's been leaked online. We are sorry, we'll learn from lessons and all the usual. And they sent a DCI to my house with the actual report. And to basically, they made it sound like an admin error, it's just a casual bureaucracy to downplay it so I don't get angry. But it wasn't just me. My name was mentioned, two others who were on that day counter-protesters. Niak Borbani, some people know him as Mr. Banana Man, who goes to this protest, and also Mark Burberg. Both of them are part of this group called Our Fight UK, which is basically to fight for the UK against Islamists and the far left. But our names were mentioned, and the report about me and my activities on the day was false. They said Mahyar Tousi was antagonizing, and you can see the live stream, the evidence is there on YouTube, that on that day I don't tend to approach the protesters. I just stand in the corner and just film them, because it's not worth it, and also I don't want to die. And but there's one issue was that obviously the report was false. And obviously it got leaked, but Niak, for example, I can't get into details, but the stuff that it was leaked about him actually affected his family in Iran even more than me, in terms of his more details about his identity, let's just say. So his father was taken, there was a lot of things that happened to him. My father obviously is still stuck in Iran. He had to basically go into hiding more, just in case, because obviously if a police report in the UK says Mahyar Tousi is antagonizing, basically is the enemy of all these lovely Palestinian supporters, then obviously the Islamic Republic are going to kick off. But since then, obviously, everything's became more bureaucratic. The police essentially been downplaying it, and they didn't even get in touch with me anymore. They just said, yeah, someone's leaked. We can't really tell you who, whatever. So I kept chasing. Obviously, we filed a complaint, talked to lawyers. Then they finally came back. Another person from the police gave me more information. Finally, about a couple of weeks ago, they said, so yes, we have arrested the person who leaked the report. They have been, the contract has been terminated because they were a contractor. They were not a full-time employee, apparently. And they have also been, they're out on bail. But there's going to be a whole investigation and, court case or whatever. And they now promised me to keep me posted every 28 days, which is now coming in probably in the next half an hour. So I need to catch up with them. But it's about the principle of it, that can we trust the police right now? It's not about the whole institution. It's about the fact that clearly there's a problem with recruitment and contracts, at least. We have good people working for the police, but we also have a lot of special people working for the police. And can the public trust the British police?
There's so much to unpack there, and I got a few different questions about it. But are we at a point then where there are enough, that the numbers are high enough of Muslims and perhaps Islamists or extreme Muslims in the country that we cannot trust our institutions?
One thing to admit, and the political establishment don't tend to do it, is not all cultures are the same. And it's not really just about the conversation, or this culture is better than the other. Some cultures will find it difficult to integrate, and some cultures won't. And if that culture, and we're now talking about political and even religious culture, it's not really about being practicing religious, but when we talk about Western Europe, we are primarily talking about Christian culture, everything that was built, and your attitude and everything else. And there are certain things that if you, for example, come from the Islamic culture, especially certain classes in certain countries like Pakistan or Bangladesh, not necessarily a rich, educated person from Saudi Arabia. And if the demographic changes in an area, obviously the institutions will also change. So hypothetically, there's an area in Birmingham. When that demographic becomes more Islamic, objectively, we could say, oh, that's fine, or it's not fine. Objectively, it's changing. Obviously, number one, pubs are closing down. But you say, oh, well, it's just pubs. I still care, but pubs is the first step. And then the recruitment for the local institutions will change automatically. And, it's natural that because there are more people who are more Islamic, especially first generation, obviously they will be applying to work for the police, to work for the council, and you can't blame them, right? There will be fewer, let's just say, native English people in that area now. But we started this before we got to this point. We started this about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the establishment, by using what we now call DEI, work diversity stuff. Before the demographic actually changed, we started bringing in people because diversity is our strength. Now, I don't really care about your skin color and about where you were born. If your attitude is like the rest of the people in a tribe, in a nation with a flag and a border, is a tribe, then everything will be fine. But it's clearly not. So why did we start changing the demographic of our institutions before the actual local area changed? So now, and there's a lot of people from the Islamic side who are very proactive in politics. Again, you can't blame them. More local councils are changing, and to exaggerate the situation, some people would say it's exaggeration, but it's just a matter of time. In a decade or so, the next few general elections, if you get 25 to 35% of the House of Commons obviously becoming more Islamic and who care about their views and their worldview, obviously they can now legally and constitutionally and democratically change legislations that could change the face of the country. Now, again, objectively, you could say, I don't care if we ban pubs or ban bacon, but I think some people care.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a vegetarian, and I would defend the people's right to eat their bacon, particularly if it's a religious sort of motivation to prohibit it. This is really scary. One thing that you talked about then, and it is a really interesting thing, that it seems to be an argument on the left a little bit, that if you just sort of made people wealthier. And it's ironic that this is a lefty argument, because it's a pro-capitalist argument. It's saying that these people, because I think you were suggesting that people who have come over from maybe poorer backgrounds, so if we were to find a way to make everybody wealthier, would it make them less extreme?
So this is the argument from mostly the liberal side rather than the left-wing side, and especially the new liberal side. I tend to generally agree, but it depends where you're doing it. So the idea is, if you support fair and free trade deals and just concept of trade, you actually help build those countries that, I know we're not supposed to say, but they're third world, and countries will come up.